What options do we have? Does the government have? The first is to wait patiently for that theatrical performance in Theatre Square to die out by itself. And by the way, everyone who tried to achieve anything using those tactics in the past met with quite serious failure. And you can't compare this situation to the one in 1989 to 90. At that time, it was the death throes of a collapsing empire. In independent Armenia, that's simply not possible. And the second option is to organize a police action to clear that square. And that would give people the chance to live a quieter life. I think today that would be a big help to especially those people who have gone astray and are at that square for some psychological or emotional reason, because they're just being kept there by means of various tricks. What did I see with my own eyes? The following. They woke me up at 6 in the morning. I'd been sleeping in the car. I usually woke at 7, but they woke me up at 6. They said that there was movement from Parakar and Davitashen, the interior forces, and, I don't know, special brigades. No special equipment, no water cannons, no armored cars, and so on. Mostly passenger vehicles. And here I'm repeating what I was told, which were followed by trucks with soldiers, different types. They woke me up at 6 and I came out to the square and talked to people. We didn't think that such a thing was possible because we received similar calls of alarm every night. We thought it was just more of the same and we weren't worried. But we turned on the microphones anyway, so that we would be able to talk to the people in case things got serious. They came very quickly. They say around 6:30, but I think it was slightly later, maybe 6:40, that they appeared. They roamed around the surrounding streets for a while, and then suddenly appeared at the square. By around 6:45, almost everybody had been woken up. Nobody was still asleep. Everyone gathered in the center of the square, and Levonte Petrosyan spoke to the people. I said the following to the people through the microphone. I asked for calm, quiet, no uprising, no protests, no shouting. I said, let's wait and see what the police want with us. I said, no contact with the police, no physical contact. And I said, let's see what the police want with us. Those were my last words before the rows of police moved forward and started to literally beat the people with their batons. I saw two things, batons and sparks from the electroshocks. They were beating people, no matter who they were. Children, old people, they spared no one at all. and not with batons, with metal bars. We had spent the night there, and they came at around 6:30. People were half asleep. The people told each other that they were coming. The special forces were coming. All the soldiers from every side. There were as many as us, maybe even more than us. There were women there, people of different ages, different sexes. They were merciless. Maybe they brought them in from Qarabağ, real fighters who would really beat the people. They were coming in from all sides and crushing people. 5 or 6 of them, 10 of them, would attack the women and hit them. They got to everyone and beat everyone up without mercy. 15 of them would beat up one person without mercy.
On
February 29th, we received operative intelligence, according to which the protesters would be given firearms in large numbers, grenades, explosives, metal pipes, and batons. There was information that March 1st would see provocations taking place in the capital, which would incite mass unrest. Similar operative intelligence had reached the National Security Service. The police asked the protesters to let them search the grounds in order to have a chance to confiscate those items and neutralize the situation. But this request was unexpectedly followed by the protesters' attack on the police. Ter Petrosyan warned the police that there were women and children in our ranks, and said that if they had anything to say, they were free to come up and say it to him. Nobody said anything. They say that they had come to conduct a search, but there was nothing like that. No request, no call. The ring of officers quietly tightened itself around the people. There was no warning of any sort, and no time was provided. They attacked as I said my final words, and within 10 or 15 seconds they had grabbed my arms and led me off the stage. At around 6, when we were calmly sleeping, the forces moved in with batons in their hands. Someone, dressed in civilian clothes, had an electroshock or something in his hands. He hit me and I fell. They started to beat me and stomp on me. There was a woman next to me. That guy was kicking her in the stomach. By the time I understood what was going on, I saw people on the ground, writhing around. I was trying to get away, but they were hitting me, beating me. I somehow managed to get into an ambulance and get here. They attacked that tent camp at 6:30 in the morning. We couldn't resist on our own, so we left. We fell back. And whoever they caught, they broke their arms. A group in civilian clothes from the left. The people came and said, "We're one of your own, let us through." But they jumped on us, firing on us. They fired, I don't know, some kind of little balls. They were firing, and then they hit us with their batons and drove everyone out of the square. The aggressiveness of the trespassers was increasing. Based on the unpredictability of the situation, and given the situation itself, an operative decision was made to take steps as outlined by the law for such a time period. The trespassers began to resist using batons, sharp instruments, and metal pipes. There were some injured among the police officers as a result of the clash, and they were taken to hospital. There were reserve ranks of police behind the rows in front. We saw them, and then we saw people with automatic rifles lined up behind them. So there were at least 3 rows. We had no chance. What can I say? It's absurd to suggest that the people resisted or injured them. It's really absurd, considering the inequality of force. A few seconds later, the officers from the President's Defense Guard appeared on the stage, led by Grisha Sarkisov. They surrounded me immediately, and my bodyguards tried to protect me. There were 5 bodyguards, as set by law, who were from a division in that same guard. They were subordinate to Grisha Sarkisov, as was the head of my guard, Colonel Sambat Gasparian. Those guys tried to protect me, but they easily pushed them aside. Maybe there were more of them, or they were bigger. Grisha Sarkisov took my arm on one side, and someone else, maybe he was his deputy, I don't know him, was on the other side, and they took me off the stage. They took me off the stage and took me to where my car was parked. They tried to get me out of the square. My guys came again and surrounded me, and I said, "I'm not leaving the square." I said, "I'm not leaving. Arrest me." "I'm only leaving in handcuffs or with my arms twisted behind my back." "Go ahead," I said. "Talk to Arvan Hovsepian and let him issue a warrant if you consider this an illegal gathering or an illegal rally. I was the one who organized this illegal gathering or rally. Nobody else is responsible. I won't leave the square on any other condition." During this period, it took very little time, just 10 or 15 minutes. The square had been cleared. There were no people there, and it was full of police. Besides the police within the square itself, who had conducted the operation, there were rows of officers surrounding the square, a number of rows. Then I noticed similar rows on Tumanyan, on the streets. I saw the ones on Tumanyan Street, but they say they were there on Sayadnova as well. They began to break the speakers on the stage. They were kicking them and bashing them with their batons, destroying the speakers. They tore down all the tents and immediately started looking for something, rods or something, I don't know. I saw them place those metal rods themselves. They had cameramen who recorded things. I saw the colonels and lieutenant colonels with those things in their hands. They were recording all this, of course. The cameraman tried to grab a shot of me as well, but I waved at him, and he was embarrassed and immediately turned away. During the search of Freedom Square, the following items were found: 2 sound-light type grenades, 10 F1, 10 RG-42, 10 RGD-5, and 10 AP-92 type grenades with explosives, 1 TT pistol, 1 Spanish-made Astra pistol, 1 Czech-made 6.35 mm pistol, 2 fully loaded Kalashnikov magazines, 1 200-gram Tatil explosive, 1 MUV striking mechanism, 25 7.62 mm bullets, 25 carabine bullets, 30 5.45 mm bullets, a 13-kilogram gas tank labeled chlorodiclometon, a large number of metal clubs, wooden sticks, 2 used syringes, 48 tablets of the psychiatric drug Tristalin, 10 Cyclodol tablets, several dozen hedgehogs, 1 canister of benzene, and bottles containing combustible liquids. They were armed with clubs and rods and were throwing metal rods at our men. You already had a chance to get some shots of those things. Let us call them hedgehogs. They had sharp edges and caused the police officers a lot of injuries. I stayed there till around 8:35. That is around 2 hours, if the events unfolded at 6:30. I sat and smoked, drank water calmly. Nobody approached me. Everybody was busy. Some time passed and Sarkisov approached me again and said that I had to leave the place. I said, only on the same condition. I won't leave on any other condition. He came and went a number of times. I don't know, maybe he was consulting with his higher-ups. Then returned and lined up my bodyguards to one side so that I was alone and asked me to sit in a car. They had brought in another car, a police car. He asked me to get in the car and I said that I wouldn't. Go ahead and twist my arm, I said, and make me. And that's what he did. He made me sit in the car and took me home. They got me there very quickly, in just 5 minutes. They did not come in. They dropped me off near the gates. The guys met me, and I came home. Then it turned out, as you also know now, that they had locked my 2 gates. When I found that out, I sent the head of my bodyguards to find out my status, whether this was a case of house arrest or not. They said that it wasn't. Such a thing had not been sanctioned, and no such orders had been given. But they had been told that I had no right to leave the house. That was one thing. And the second thing was that nobody was allowed to come to my house.